Hi all, I am Monica. Today, chapter 15 is all about process mapping. What we are covering in this chapter: process mapping, purpose of process mapping, benefits of process mapping, types of process mapping symbols, and how to create a process map. Process mapping. What is process? A process is a series or set of activities that interact to produce a result. It may occur once only or be recurrent or periodic. An activity that changes to perform some input to create an output. What is process mapping? Process mapping is the technique of using flowcharts to illustrate the flow of a process, proceeding from the most macro perspective to the level of detail required to identify opportunities for improvement. A process map is a planning and management tool that visually describes the flow of work. Process mapping focuses on the work rather than on a job, titles, or hierarchy. Using process mapping, process flows show a series of events that produce an end result. A process map is also called a flowchart, process chart, functional flowchart, process model, workflow diagram, business flow diagram, or process flow diagram. It shows who and what is involved in a process and can be used in any business or organization and can reveal areas where a process should be improved. Purpose of process mapping. The purpose of process mapping is for organizations and businesses to improve efficiency. Process maps provide insight into a process, helps team brainstorm ideas for process improvement, increase communication and provide process documentation. Process mapping will identify bottlenecks, repetition, and delays. They help to define process boundaries, process ownership, process responsibility, and effectiveness measures or process metrics. Benefits of process mapping. Process mapping allows you to visually communicate the important details of a process rather than writing extensive directions. Process maps and flowcharts are used to increase understanding of a process, analyze how a process could be improved, show others how a process is done, improve communication between individuals engaged in the same process, provide process documentation, and plan projects. Process maps can save time and simplify projects because they create and speed up the project design, provide effective visual communication of ideas, information and data, help with problem solving and decision making, identify problems and possible solution, can be built quickly and economically, show processes broken down into steps and use symbols that are easy to follow, show detailed connection and sequences, show an entire process from the beginning to the end. Process maps help you to understand the important characteristics of a process, allowing you to produce helpful data to use in problem solving. Process maps let you strategically ask important questions that help you improve any processes. Types of process mapping. Process mapping is about communicating your process to others. You can build stronger understanding with process maps. The most common process map types include activity process map. It represents value added and non-value added activities in a process. Detailed process map. It provides a much more detailed look at each step in the process. Document map. Documents are the inputs and outputs in the process. High-level process map. High-level representation of a process involving interaction between supplier, input, process, output, customer. Rendered process map. It represents the current state and or future state processes to show areas for process improvement. Streamline or cross-functional map. It separates out the sub-process responsibilities in the process. Value added chain diagram. Unconnected boxes that represented a very simplified version of a process for quick understanding. Value stream map. A lean management technique that analyzes and improves processes needed to make a product or provide a service to a customer. Workflow diagram. A work process shown in flow format does not utilize UML symbols, Unified Modeling Language. Process mapping symbols. Key elements of a process mapping includes actions, activity steps, decision points, functions, inputs, outputs, people involved, process measurements, and time required. Basic symbols are used in a process map to describe key process elements. Each process element is represented by a specific symbol such as an arrow, circle, diamond, box, oval, or rectangle. These symbols come from the UML, Unified Modeling Language, which is an international standard for drawing process maps. How to create a process map. Process mapping is about communicating your process to others so that you can achieve your management objectives. Process maps can be created in common programs like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, or Excel, but there are other programs to customize to create a process map. Process mapping has become streamlined because of software that provides a better understanding of processes. Step 1. Identify the problem. What is the process that needs to be visualized? Type its title at the top of the document. Step 2. Brainstorm activities involved. At this point, sequencing the steps is not important, but it may help you to remember the steps needed for your process. Decide what level of your detail to include. Determine who does what and when it is done. Step 3. Figure out boundaries. Where or when does the process start? Where or when does the process stop? Step 4. Determine and sequence the steps. It's helpful to have a verb begin the description. You can also show either the general flow or every detailed action or decision. Step 5. Draw basic flowchart symbols. Each element in a process map is represented by a specific flowchart symbol: oval, rectangle, arrow, diamond, and parallelogram. Step 6. Finalize the process flowchart. Review the flowchart with other stakeholders for consensus. Make sure you have included important chart information like a title and date, which will make it easy to reference. End of chapter 15. Some more topics related to process mapping will be discussed in next session. Thank you.